Good morning, all, and welcome to Essential Leadership Skills, the podcast. Stephen Covey wrote a book back in the early 80s called The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. This book is a time tested, classic, powerful book. We're going to discuss that book today on the Essential Leadership Skills, the podcast. I'm sorry, Essential Leadership Skills Live for the nonprofit organization.
This is a Touchstone Publishers presentation, your trusted source of leadership knowledge.
And good morning once again, Glenn Daniels, COO of Touchstone Publishers. And today we're working on or starting a series of the Seven Habits of Highly Effective People written by Stephen Covey. Now, this is a series of books that if you don't have this, I'm sorry, this is a book that if you don't have this book, I'm going to suggest that you go get the book. Indeed, a powerful book to go through. We're going to highlight some of the things in it, but there's so much in it, it is worth the amount that you might consider paying for that. So he talks about seven different habits that if you're going to be highly successful, if you're going to succeed and go to that next level, you need to take a hold of. And the first habit is just simply being proactive. You must find ways to be proactive. You see something, you take care of it. You see an issue, you take care of it. You don't wait for someone to tell you that that's a problem and go fix it. You see it, you go take care of it. So let's take a couple examples. I work with a lot of military organizations, and I was talking with one gentleman who's a lead of a division, and he said that he would go in the bathroom, and oftentimes as he went into the bathroom, he noticed how dirty it was, how sometimes they had toilet paper on the floor, and he would just pick it up. Just he wouldn't go out into the janitor, he just clean it up. Then he started thinking, well, that's not being proactive enough. He said, I need to find out why there's so much toilet paper on the floor. And the reason why, as he discovered, was that the quality of toilet paper they were buying would tear off easily and people would just drop it. They're taking it off, tearing off to get a piece to blow their nose, for example. And they would just, because it tore off, it just get dropped. So that was just causing it. So being proactive, he decided, okay, let me start looking at other vendors who might do a better job at this, who might, give us better quality product. Maybe if we have better quality product, we won't use so much, we won't waste so much. That's being proactive. He decided to take a look at each part of that and then create a plan that he put on a spreadsheet and simply sent it to the powers that be and said, this is the type of toilet paper we should be buying, and here's why, and here's how much it would cost us. That's being proactive. You have somebody on your staff who's not cutting it. Why would you wait until you have to fire them? If you wait until you have to fire them to say something to them, you're not being proactive. Proactive means you'd have to find out their communication style and speak to them in the way they need to hear it. Proactive means that you're working to make them a better employee. You're finding a problem, so you realize that they're late for 2 days in a row. They're probably going to be late for the third day in a row. Proactive means having that conversation to figure out what that person needs to do in order to start coming to work on time. By the way, notice the phraseology here. What that person needs to do, not what you need to do. What does that person need to do to get to work on time, not what you need to do for them. Okay? So being proactive means doing it first before you're told to or before you have to. That's number one, to be proactive. Number two is to always begin with the end in mind. For those of you who have been through any of my workshops or have spent any amount of time with me, you hear me preach that all the time. Begin with the end in mind. What do you have to do in order to begin with the end in mind? You have to think about how you want it to come out. How do you want this to come out? What's the message you want to have? What's the outcome? If I'm getting ready to have just a normal conversation with somebody, just to say hi or to get to find out what they're doing, I may take a few minutes to begin with the end in mind to simply find out what it is or state to myself what it is that I want to have happen. Hey, I just want to say hi. I want a brief conversation. So at the end of this conversation, it's just a quick hi. Let's take this to the next room though. Let's say you have someone that you're bringing in for a counseling conversation. So there's a coaching conversation and there's a counseling conversation. Coaching means you're helping that person to get better, but counseling means that you have to warn them off or tell them they did something wrong. What is your outcome that you want to have take place at the end of the counseling session? I'm going to suggest that you take a few minutes and write it down before it begins. So if my outcome is to get this employee to start coming to work on time, that's going to be written down someplace for me to know. That's what my outcome is. I want to begin with the end in mind. This is a powerful concept for everything. Goal setting. Begin with the end in mind. What is it that you want to have a year from now, 6 months from now? What is it you want to do a year from now, 6 months from now? What is it that you want to be 1 year or 6 months from now? Begin with the end in mind. Okay? That's habit number two. Now, that's a very important habit for a lot of reasons. If you know what it is that you're after, if you know what it is you're after, you're more than likely to find ways for it to happen. If you decide, I want to have a great time today, your mind will more than likely find ways for you to have a great time. If you begin the conversation saying, I want to connect with this person so I can get them to be more productive, your mind will find ways for you to do it. Allow your mind to do the work by beginning with the end in mind. So critical. Third habit we'll discuss today, this will be our last habit. Put first things first. Do what's important now. What's important right now. Don't put it off because it's hard. Don't wait. Put first things first. There are some time management principles out there that say, well, do the things I can do in 2 minutes or less. This habit is saying, no, do the things that are most important first. Take care of those first. You'll find yourself to be a lot more effective throughout the day if you do the things you have to do, the important things first. Now, in Stephen Covey's book, he talks about setting up 4 quadrants. And one of those quadrants is to do what's important and urgent first, the things that are important and urgent. In other words, if you don't get this done, it's going to cost you money, maybe cost the livelihood of your company, maybe even cost lives or cause people to get hurt. First things first. Do those things first. Put first things first. Very critical concept when it comes time for you to put this all together for yourself. You got to do first things first. In other words, when you're putting first things first, you have to have some great time management skills, which we might want to call emotional management skills. Because if you're managing your emotions correctly, you're going to do the first thing first. You can do what has to be done first. The most critical concept, most critical piece of things that you have to do, you'll do those first. Okay? And that's what it's going to take for you to become successful in here, to put first things first, to be proactive, to begin with the end in mind. Begin with the end in mind. What is it that you want to create or do or have before you even start? What is it that you want to be? What is it that you want to be before you start? I'm always going to suggest that you make a note someplace to say, this is what I want to have happen, before it even gets started. That way you're more than likely able to come up with and make those things happen a lot better. So I'm going to ask you to go ahead and just quickly subscribe to this channel as we start to rebuild our channel here. If you found this useful, click on like or go ahead and subscribe. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for spending some time with us today. I want to invite you also, though, to come back tomorrow. We do this Monday through Thursday at 7 a.m. Eastern Time, about 10-15 minutes. It's never that long. But we'll do that, 7-10 minutes or so, that you have the opportunity to just join us. So thank you. Thank you very much for spending the time with us. Again, tomorrow morning, which is only Wednesday, right? At 7 a.m. Eastern Time, 10-15 minutes. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. I appreciate you taking the time to spend with us.